Hello. I am the RPGchick, and we're going to be doing a little impromptu Soul Blazer.
Impromptu Soul Blazer is the best blazer, in my opinion.
I agree.
Look, you can't get rid of me today.
I mean, I'm always happy to have you, so.
Thank you so much. I'm here to provide commentary and maybe I'll be witty today too.
I mean, tired conversation is often best conversation. Some volume issues. What can we fix before we start real quick? Because we kind of had to do this on the fly. So, what's the matter? Game is too loud. I can fix that.
Commentary buried by the game. Just because this game has such good audio.
Okay, hopefully this is better. And the other person is not audible. Let me turn you up. Okay.
Maybe I can be heard now.
Hopefully she can be heard now.
I hope. For real, stop calling me a guy in chat. I already corrected it once.
Does she sound okay now, or should I turn her up some more? Okay, I can still turn you up a little bit more.
I can talk more until I'm audible-ish, more-ish audible. This is one thing that we could not super really test before going live, so we appreciate everybody in chat providing direction in this trying time of commentary.
Yes. Hopefully that it's okay now, because I can't really go any higher than that anyway.
I'll just scream into the microphone at all times.
Okay. Alright, so in that case, we're gonna get started, and we'll talk to you about this run as we go. So, 3, 2, 1, boop! Let's blaze it!
Good luck.
Thank you. So, this is part of the Quintet series. If you've never seen it before, I highly recommend you give the trilogy a nice try. This is the first game in the trilogy. It is an action RPG. And essentially, we're going to be killing monsters like these, sealing their lairs by stepping on them, and releasing either different people, different animals, different plants, different buildings, in order to kind of rebuild the world. But because this is a speedrun, we're not going to rebuild a lot of it.
We're going to rebuild enough of it. Like, just enough to get by.
Yeah, and in every one of the worlds, there's 7 worlds, there is a magical creature like this dude here. This one happens to be my magician, so you're going to start to see a little orb circling around my head, and he is going to cast magic for me, which is going to be fantastic if I have gems to use it.
We're going to be seeing a whole lot of maybe 2 magic spells.
Yes.
Well, a little bit of one, and then hopefully a lot of another.
Yes. And then at the very end, we use a very special magical spell.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about Phoenix.
Yep.
You know, like, the whole conceit of, what, 2 or 3 games at this point?
I know. But yeah, so Fireball is a projectile magic. You are restricted by that gem count in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So if you don't have enough gems to cast spells, well, you're out of luck.
But, there are, like, the game is pretty generous about gems, but the worst possible thing that can happen is just, like, you take a weird death and don't have gems when you want them. But usually your sword is pretty sufficient.
Yeah, the bad thing is if you die without using what's called a strange bottle, you basically lose every single one of your gems. Alright, let's take care of this nonsense over here.
So most of our routing through these areas are going to be just knowing which layers we need to actually beat the game, and maybe in some cases get a little extra safety. I'm not quite sure if you're going for the armor.
Yes.
I assume you are.
Oh yes. I still do not do runs without ice armor. It's just not a good idea.
I apparently do, but only when I'm not aware I'm not doing a run without ice armor. I picked it up, I just didn't put it on.
There's other safeties too that if you're just starting out on this run that you can take, such as getting the item shop owner here in this first world, and she will basically dispense you an infinite amount of medical herbs, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to live dangerously.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get enough herbs, maybe, just by playing through this game and like knowing where they are. Or alternatively, if you ever play the randomizer, you will get enough herbs to last you through many vanilla playthroughs of this game.
That is definitely not a lie. There is a reason that the randomizer is called herb %.
Just a quick question that I'm curious from chat to you. What is your favorite game in the Quintet trilogy?
This one is probably the one I've played the most of, both from speedrunning and even casual. Way back in the day, I used to hunt through this game like once a year. And even though I've only played through the full game once, I think Terranigma has the best story out of all three of them, because it's just a little more in depth. And I have nothing against IOG. I like IOG. It's not my favorite out of the three.
I kind of really love Illusion of Gaia. It's something that's really taken me through 2019 and a little bit into 2020, of just like discovering that randomizer, never playing the vanilla game, learning the randomizer, getting good at that randomizer, then going back and playing through the vanilla game. And that game's story goes places.
It has some interesting twists and turns for sure, but I guess Terranigma has its dark points too, but some of IOG is super duper dark.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Terranigma's got some really silly stuff and some really dark stuff, but it's cool to see, like, oh, this is just, Earth. And sort of Earth. Like, the Great Lakes are a lot more dangerous than I remember.
I never saw so many strange creatures in the Great Lakes in real life.
That's for sure. Oh, so Soul Blazer, we're going back into the underground castle is what this area is called?
Yes.
And we're going to go and release this building right here, which is where the mayor or I think it's the mayor or the governor, I forget what his title is, but he's the guy who gives you the item that lets you keep playing the game.
Yeah, so basically every single one of the worlds has a village chief, quote-unquote, and unless you release them, you cannot progress into the next area because they are basically going to give you one of the 6 stones that you need in order to get to the World of Evil at the end of the game. I know, spoilers.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe that you're letting everybody know on Tuesday, April 20th.
I wish it was July.
That there is a World of Evil. Don't
also,
mind me.
This is Lisa, and Lisa sucks.
Wow. So Lisa's gonna yell at us, and then tell us to stop leaving, and then we just don't stop leaving. And this is basically all we're going to see of Lisa, more or less, for most of the game.
But she falls in love with us in this one chance encounter, too. Because video games, I guess.
Life was uncomplicated back in the days of when you resurrected the world, ?
Yeah. Lisa is somebody, at least in the randomizer, you don't want to see. Lahulk always says if you need Lisa in the randomizer, it's a really bad seed, basically. So yeah, we don't like Lisa very much. Essentially, you're gonna have to go, and even in the vanilla here, you're gonna see I'm gonna have to go out of my way to kind of wake her up, just to get one item, just one item.
And in this case, it's very required. But
yes.
We found an item called the Dream Rod earlier, and what that does is it lets us go into people's dreams when they're sleeping, because that's not invasive. And doing that, we'll find an item that we'll hit a switch that somehow affects the real world because video games.
Yes, that's totally how it works. Also, I'm trying to reduce my health a little bit here because I'm going to do another death warp in a minute. So
go ahead.
Death warps are the quickest way to get out of a lot of the areas, and because we're still at the beginning of the game, I don't need a ton of gems just yet. I will when we start getting into the second and third worlds, though.
And Death Warps are the most dangerous game in this game when you're trying to get ready for one. It's just like, oh, let me take a few extra hits off of an enemy so I'll be ready to, you know, die later, and then you die now, and now you've got to walk all the way back.
Yeah, that's a thing. So we're gonna put the dream rod on Lisa's head, like Kat said. We're gonna open up this passage down here. We're gonna hear some sad stories about how Lisa misses her daddy. And then, as Kat said, Lisa's gonna yell at us and we're gonna leave because nobody yells at me. It's not okay. It's not cool.
It's absolutely not alright. And she apologizes, but the master does not care at this point.
Exactly. You blew it, Lisa.
I mean, I guess, like, waking up and seeing someone in your home and shouting, "Get out of my house," is probably normal. But,
So is her falling in
feelings.
love with him a very, very terrible version of Stockholm Syndrome?
In the weirdest way. Like, she was never captive, I guess. I feel like that's a slippery slope of a statement.
Maybe, then. The worst love at first sight, then.
Gosh. So we've opened this little pathway we're going to be coming up to now here to get a single item that, what is this, the brush?
Yeah, which is used for only one dungeon, and then it's never used again.
As a kid, this was my favorite dungeon, going into the painting.
It is a very cool dungeon. The music is a little creepy, but the dungeon is very cool.
Oh, by the way, we're going to Death Warp and go to a painting.
Yes.
Spoilers.
But yeah, having to go all the way back into the underground palace for one thing.
It's a big deal. It's so annoying.
It is. It's very, very obnoxious.
And now we've been dragged into the painting because we have the brush that painted it, just like real life works.
Sure.
I haven't been able to test this, so as far as I know, this is how paintings work.
I wish this is how paintings work.
Alright, so now we're in this painting that is much more dangerous than your average painting, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying very hard not to embed myself on top of monsters. I'm particularly good at that.
A lot of these monsters, and you'll watch RPGchick do it, have a very specific spot you want to stand while you're killing the lair. And with this one, like just one tile left and one tile down is usually your safe spot. And you'll see her take very particular spots when fighting off specific lairs, just because the enemy patterns can be manipulated in some cases.
Yeah, there's a few creatures. Most of them are plant in nature that are very RNG in terms of the ways that they move. They're still at least slightly manipulatable, but not very, and it's very obnoxious.
This bird's coming on a journey with us.
Yeah, that bird always likes to follow me. I'm very bad at getting rid of him. It's like, hey, I heard you like journeys. Come with me.
And I believe this little spiny thing that's going around this platform, this is our first instance of a metal enemy. And the significance of that is, like, we can't hurt anything metal yet. We'll eventually find a sword that lets us kill metal enemies, and we'll promptly use it only in very specific spots. But it is a strong sword in general.
Also, you notice a lot of the time I stand kind of so that my sword is swinging off to the right for monsters. And it's because the hitbox on the right side of the sword is larger than it is in any other direction. I don't know, that's how the game was programmed, but you can exact more damage in an instant with swinging your sword out to the right or holding it to the right of a monster than you can with any other direction.
Yeah, this game's sword is kind of super generous, and I love it.
Yes. I'm also going to be taking the safe quick kill.
All right.
Because I don't want to die here.
There is a very dangerous quick kill method that sometimes works, but
I'm going to take it a little safer here.
I don't blame you. Basically, when you hold L or R, you're going to hold your sword out in front of you. And that basically deals damage per second instead of just swinging. Eventually, this is going to be our primary method of attacking because every sword has a weapon, a level to it, and if you don't match the level, you can't swing it, but you can still hold it out in front of you and poke enemies with it or let them walk into it. And we're eventually just going to have weapons that we can't swing, but we're still going to poke things with them because they're a little bit stronger.
Unfortunately, a lot of the speedrun you are underleveled for your sword. So this is, as Kat said, the only thing that you can kind of do to mitigate that. So that was the boss of the first world. That was Solid Arm. He actually reappears as, I believe, Metal Mantis in Illusion of Gaia if you collect all 50 red jewels.
Yep, he is in there. In the randomizer, he is fought by me pretty often. It'd be illogic to fight him.
Oh gosh. But with the boss down, we're going to get the first stone, which is the brown stone, and the master is going to say, hey, you bring that back here because that's going to let you traverse on to the next world. And then we're going to move on to Greenwood. At least it's not the randomizer where I'm going to get ambushed by 100 statues at the same time.
You'll see the statues, but you won't see the statues like randomizer players see statues.
Yeah, it's kind of special.
When you open up a lair, and then you just stand near it, and you just hear that teleporting noise like 20 times, it's like, oh, no. I'm unsure if it's supposed to be the same character from ActRaiser. He does make the same noise when he gets hit and when he swings the sword, so it would make sense to me if that was, actually the thing, but I don't quite know.
Yeah, I imagine between the ActRaiser games and the Quintet trilogy, there's a lot of similarities and consistency in the storylines. So a few of the lairs that we're going to be opening here in the marsh and in the 3 shrines, the water shrine, the fire shrine, and the light shrine, some of them are going to be passageways and some of them are going to be creature releases. So it just kind of depends. So here are the plants, the other plants that are that do whatever the heck they feel like doing. They are invulnerable while they're sticking their vines out at you.
These are my favorite enemies just because they're such a mess. And they will hurt you a lot. Your iframes do not last a terribly long amount of time.
Unfortunately not.
If they're getting grabby, you'll get hurt.
But again, there are still ways to manipulate their movement. It becomes a little bit more difficult if there's like a million of them on the screen at the same time, which there will be in a little bit. But still doable, and we do have some magic available to us to try to help that a bit too. Also, these mudmen have a heckin' lot of HP. If anybody, while we're releasing moles and other animals, if anybody is interested in running this, we did just have the annual Everhate race, because I saw Everhate's name in chat. And there are a few really good guides for this game. It's not a difficult run to learn, but it is a difficult run to master because some of the areas are rather difficult.
That is for sure. Like I heard about the race 2 years ago because I didn't really know much about the RPG running community at all. I was still relatively new to speedrunning in general. I heard about the Everhate race. I'm like, yes, I'm joining this. So the 2 years ago, the Everhate race was the first time I raced Soul Blazer. It took me about a week to learn the game. It's definitely something, as RPGchick said, you can learn it. Getting good at it might be a whole other ball game. Like, I still don't have that sub 2 hour run, but I'm close.
Yeah, I just got my sub 2 this past race. I was very happy.
That's so awesome. Congratulations.
But I've also been running it for a lot longer. But, there's that thing where people actually expect you to practice, and, yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't either. Who practices games?
I mean, I did a run earlier today with no practice, so away we go.
So here is one of the first, not the first, but here's a safety we're going to take, because I do want the ice armor, not for the fire shrine, but for Leo's lab, because Leo's lab is still the bane of my existence in the speed run. So it is a two-part process. The first part is to release this mole, and then the second part in the fire shrine is to release the stump, whose dream we're going to enter to get to the ice armor itself. At the beginning, it's possible, like, you can leave the fire shrine and get the ice armor and come back, and it makes going over the fire platforms much faster, but, well, I think it's more necessary for Leo's lab, to be honest, because that place is just brutal.
Yeah, I did it in randomizer the last time we played without the armor, and that was not pleasant. It hurt a lot.
Yeah, it does that. So I'm gonna open up this teleport warp. We're gonna come back here later. So we're not going to death warp from here, because at this point I want to start saving my gems for the next world coming up, and a little bit here too for the light shrine coming up. And these plants are going to drive me crazy. Be good, plants. Come on, be good.
Plants are your friends. They're definitely not here to hurt you or cause your speedrun problems.
No, of course not. Why would a plant ever disrupt a Soul Blazer speedrun? That never happens. So many plants. Level ups are also set at different experience values. So I am pretty much counting on level gains at certain points, although mine are a little off from what you might see people who are much more practiced at this game than I am do. But it's fine.
I have never once noticed what experience point value I level up on in this game.
Oh, I don't notice the values. I only notice, like, oh, I'm at this point in the game. I probably am going to gain a level soon.
Yeah, that's always my metric too. It's like, oh, I'm over here. This is probably like, I level here. I'm pretty confident I level here, and I should not be trying to heal or be careful.
Yep. So, those scorpions are also made out of metal, so if they hit me, they're gonna do a lot of damage, so I'm trying to play it a little bit safe as I try to get rid of these lizards.
The lizards are not cooperating very nicely today.
No, they often don't, and you'll see the first awful teleporting lizards in just a moment, but I'm gonna close this flare first because this is gonna give me the other half of the safety I need for the ice armor.
And we have skipped the mole for the light, right?
I will be skipping the mole for the light, yeah.
Oh my, I keep thinking it's like near where the ice armor is, but no.
Well, you still have to release it, because that's where the greenwood leaves are, but you don't have to get them all and waste time talking to him for like 5 minutes. Alright, teleporting lizards, stop being jerks.
Yeah, these teleporting lizards, like, even when they're invisible, like, when they're invisible and moving, you cannot hurt them. But they can certainly hurt you.
Alright. Now I'm gonna aggro the ghosts because I got too close because the lizard decided to go on a journey.
There will be more squirrels, don't worry, JRG. There might be more squirrels.
Scorpion is following me. I need to get away. Alright, so this floor is the hot platform floor. So these red hot platforms, when they're red hot, and you walk on them, you're going to take damage. So you want to try to walk on them as much as possible when they're cooling down. If you have ice armor on, it doesn't matter either way, and you are able to just walk across them without any damage whatsoever. So we're going to pick up our second and most important magic spell here, which is going to be the Light Arrow Magic. Light Arrow Magic is the best magic in the game, IMO.
It is incredible. It shoots in all 4 directions for the low cost of not a ton of MP, which I don't remember the number, so don't quote me. And it deals a ton of damage. And as long as you don't tell that crystal you want to go back to Greenwood, you're doing great.
Yes, nobody has ever accidentally done that.
I mean, I'm pretty confident no one's ever made a mistake in a speedrun of Soul Blazer.
No, that's never happened.
Definitely not me.
Teleporting lizards, why? Do I have my medical herb equipped? I do. Okay. Just in case.
Yeah, this floor is mean, these enemies are mean. This, I was kind of saying, this is probably one of the harder areas in the game before Leo's Lab. I think Leo's Lab might take it for, like, the hardest area in the game.
I think so, too. More because
Gosh,
you can't
it's my
actually swing your sword. Whoops.
Yeah, and if, like, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog given mechanical flesh wasn't an enemy in that game, in that area, it wouldn't be so bad.
And that's why I equipped my medical herb. Also, this game has some really heckin' awesome tracks.
It does. This game is full of hot jams, if you will. Alright, now I think I'm properly caffeinated. Sort of.
That's good. That's a start. Alright, I can be a little bit more, liberal about this, because as soon as I get off of this floor, I am going to go back to the teleport pad and go back to the town, because basically, well, I can't traverse any further in this area until I get, the Greenwood leaf. And in order to do that, I need to wake up that poor sleeping bird that we just released.
We need to know that, what is it, we represent the Guardian of Greenwood at this point, or we just have Turbo's blessing?
One or the other. I think it's basically the same difference.
I mean, for real, shout out to Turbo the dog, appearing in pretty much all these games.
Yeah, all 3 of the trilogy for sure. So he is in this, he is in IOG, and he is in Terranigma.
And he is a good dog.
Yes. Best doggo. So we're gonna walk on some crocodiles. They're gonna moan and whine at us for a minute and then be like, well, okay, I guess you can walk on me.
I love the dialogue from the crocodiles. Just like, do you dare walk over me? Okay, please don't hurt me.
Also, if you do get a chance to play the randomizer, Lahoka's changed some of the dialogue around, and Turbo just says, peace, guys. Which I think is fabulous. So, we're gonna skip this mole. Technically, you would take that mole with you, and you would be able to have a spotlight in the light shrine coming up so that you could see that your way in the darkness. I'm gonna fumble my way into the boss room and hope that I don't mess up miserably.
You're gonna do great. We've been practicing for this moment.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, you've been practicing for this moment.
Sure.
I will say, when I was running this at NLSS and I had Sin talking to me, he had told me that he learned the dark room specifically thanks to the randomizer, and then I learned the dark room thanks to the randomizer, and I'm pretty confident you learned the dark room thanks to the randomizer.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not, the mole for the light is not built in for the randomizer, so... Yeah, sometimes you just kind of get stuck. Where am I going? Hello.
No, we're just leaving. We're good. We beat the game.
I'm done with this world. Let's move on.
Moving on to St. L.
I don't really need to do the light shrine. It's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, the Greenwood Guardian is... I mean, the tree's there. Technically, is fine.
But yeah, so I have my ice armor, so I have my safety for Leo's lab if I need it, and I probably will, because mice and helicopters.
Oh gosh, just y'all wait for Leo's lab. This is a SNES game. You are absolutely correct. It is a SNES game that I don't know how I ended up with a copy of, but I have it.
Alright, I'm gonna lag the game horribly for a minute here, as I try to get rid of some of these monsters.
This one's a fun room because you can use your light arrow to eliminate things across on other sides while they can't actually get to you. And you end up killing a lot of things all at once in this room. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately though, this game definitely has a sprite limit, so when you have that many sprites on it at once, it definitely is super duper laggy, and there are a few issues with the randomizer because of that too, where there can be so many sprites on the screen that you can't even use your magic.
And they're all teleporting statues.
Oh my gosh, it's so awful sometimes. Ah! So those are spirit suns, they're obnoxious. And you can't kill them yet. So similarly to how we cannot do damage to the metal monsters at the moment, we also cannot do damage to any spirit monsters at the moment. So those, and then there will be ghosts in one of the later worlds that we will need a spirit sword to do damage to. And we will actually come back at one point to get rid of some of these spirit suns. And this one is really aggravating me because he's after my butt.
It's just right there. It's like, yo, hey, what's up? Hi, look at me.
Spirits.
And someone asked if this is similar to Illusion of Gaia. It's in the same trilogy. It's not quite the same. Like, Illusion of Gaia has a lot of... your character has a lot more agency in the world, I think. But this, for a game that came out before and can precede it, it makes a lot of sense. But the way Will moves and the way the Master moves are very different.
Aha, you thought you were going to hit me, but I have got around you. So this is the area that I was talking about before. If you are newer to the game, it is a really good idea to take the mole who helps you see in the dark. There are a few torches which you can see will illuminate your path. But the last part of the area that leads you to the boss room is completely dark. So unless you know your way through it, I highly suggest taking the mole with you so that you can find your way without excessive difficulties.
The game is like almost generous with the dark rooms because when you hit a wall, you'll never notice just by looking at the Master or the Blazer or whatever his name is. I think it's the Blazer. Who knows? But your spirit around you will keep moving forward even if you can't. So you can tell when you've hit a wall because it'll start to get away from you.
Yep, and we're going to be using that to our benefit for other reasons as well. Because if I can move my orb like this for certain monsters, it will allow me to basically attack them with magic from a distance without having to get too close. And this is going to be important when we get to World 4. Okay, I'm going to recharge my HP.
Yeah, I know Japan is called Soul Blader, which is... I recently played through most of it myself. It's a very interesting version of the game. It's very similar, but not quite the same. But I want to say they refer to this person as the Blazer.
Oh, I got into the room and then I lost my way up. There we go. Okay, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, there's a little alcove in the middle of this room that you can walk up, and finding it is always not the easiest thing. Welcome to one of the most annoying bosses in the game. To basically put in perspective, if you do the same thing every time, this boss will do the same thing every time. So what RPGchick is doing is moving into very specific spots to try to get the boss into a pattern where it won't really hurt you, and you can keep hitting it. But if you just kind of run around this room, like flailing and swinging your sword wildly, this boss will get completely out of control and chase you like crazy and probably kill you. This boss is kind of nonsense if you're not doing the exact right thing at the right time.
Yeah, and the lightning head boss and the water boss are a little bit easier to manipulate. The fire boss a little more difficult to manipulate because it's a slightly more erratic pattern. But Poexel was kind enough to show me this nice little strat of where you can stand for the fire head, and I thank him for that forever.
Yeah, that is a cool strat. I've never tried that. It is definitely a lot safer, one where you dance back and forth.
Yeah, the only thing is, it is a little bit slower, not a lot, but a little bit. And if you don't have enough health to tank the first two hits from the firehead, well, you're gonna die anyway. So there are caveats to it, but overall, it is extremely nice and beneficial to have.
Yeah, and the ice armor makes it a lot more palatable.
Yes. So we've released the second village chief, quote-unquote, the Guardian of the Woods. She gives us the green stone, so we can move on to the next area, which is going to be the St. L's seabed. Personally, I dislike this world the most in terms of how it works. So St. L's seabed is essentially separated into 5 areas. They're basically different islands you end up going to, except for the ghost ship. And you have to unlock a statue from each area before you can progress on to the next one. And of course, they're all on opposite ends, and you have to come all the way back here to talk to the statues to open the paths, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, and by opposite ends, that's that's not even a slight exaggeration. They're like in the upper left corner, upper right corner, bottom left corner. It's a fun little seabed to traverse, and it's kind of weird. I do like this area a lot. I don't know why I like St. L so much. I think it's I don't like the area after this. So playing through St. L's is just kind of fun and refreshing, and then the Mountain of Souls I hate it so much.
The Mountain of Souls is kind of obnoxious, but I just find it a little bit easier than this area. But to each their own. As long as we agree Leo's lab is a pain.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite area, but it's a pain. It feels good to do right, though.
Oh yeah, that's definite.
I think I just like mermaids a lot.
Well, mermaids are adorable, especially if you play it casually and you release all of the layers. There's a set of dancing mermaids, and even though all they do is move back and forth, it's still very awesome.
Fantastic. I do like how one of the enemies in this area is just trees.
Yeah.
I guess there's just trees that shoot at you.
Trees, fish,
rocks,
Donkey Kongs.
The rocks are especially fun to deal with because the magic kills it in one hit, but if you don't have the gems to actually cast magic, these rocks are pretty annoying to fight.
Yeah, very much so.
Your sword deals 1 damage to it, so you just kind of gotta sit there and kind of hold it out in front of you and dance backwards slowly.
Ooh, that was very nice prep for a death warp here.
I would say that was beautifully done. I always forget that I'm supposed to death warp here and stand directly behind the gorillas, which is like the beautiful safe spot. Except you don't want to be safe here. You want to live so dangerously.
Yup. The only sad thing is I have to lose all those beautiful gems. So, because this is essentially an underwater area, we need the bubble armor to progress into the other areas. So this mermaid is released specifically for that purpose, well, for this palace down here too, but to also get the bubble armor. We're not going to use it just yet, because we're going to do one more death warp to unleash the first statue. So you notice, as I'm walking through without the bubble armor, well, I'm taking damage.
St. LC bed.
Yep, if you walk through with the bubble armor on, you won't take any damage. Alright. I wanted to decrease my health a bit here so it's a little easier to death warp, because we're going to have to use fishy bubbles.
God, the fish bubbles are not fun to death warp on.
No.
They're fine if you take enough damage.
Yeah, if you remember to take your armor off, because, yeah, that's a thing too.
Yeah, remembering to take your armor off, on. Also, how about unlocking one of these statues and not actually talking to it and walking over to the door that it normally opens? Because you have to talk to the statue for it to actually function.
Yeah, that's also a thing. Alright, so we have unlocked the first statue, and that's going to take us over into the lower right-hand corner. But we do have to talk to it first. I will open a passage for you. Go that way. I mean, the nice thing is, based upon how the statues are removed, it is very obvious which direction in the confusing seabed you do have to take.
Yeah.
Because of how things are blocked off, there really are only two ways that you can go right now. And that is to the upper right and to the lower right. And if you try to go to the upper right, you end up getting blocked off. So
Yeah, it is good at dead ends, at least.
Jellyfish, hello? Hi.
Yeah, this jellyfish doesn't want to play today. It has had enough.
I'm gonna stand over here instead. Sometimes it's a little bit nicer if I stand over here.
Yeah, it's a smarter move than I do. I just kind of play chicken with them.
Either like that corner behind the other pillar or this corner, they tend to cooperate. Sometimes they cooperate a little bit better over here, because a lot of the times if I stand behind the pillar on this side, they just run into my face. I really don't appreciate it when they run into my face.
The jellyfish to the face is not a great way to start your day.
Nope. And again, if you see me skipping stuff, sometimes it's just, oh, okay, this opens up a shortcut, or this is just not necessary. There are a ton of NPCs that can be released if you play this game casually, but most of them just aren't necessary. We're just going to pretend that when we beat this game, everybody just magically gets released.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, everyone's probably let go and everything's fine, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because why would it be any other way? Alright. So, this is the first instance of having to open a spot, to open a spot, to open a spot, to open a spot.
If only that was an exaggeration.
But it's not.
No, that's just how this area goes. Welcome to Rockbird. There's like 27 layers and maybe 10 of them have things in them.
A little bit of swag. Sometimes I can be swaggy.
I think you're quite swaggy all the time, RPGchick.
Aw, you're the best.
No, you.
Okay, I actually have to kill this rock without magic. Luckily, it's not moving. It's fine. This is fine.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Alright, I do want to take a little bit of damage here because I am going to death warp. I would really like some more gems, thank you, because I would need to kill those palm trees. Perfect.
Now we're opening up another statue.
Yeah, so
And,
unfortunately a lot of this is just get a statue to go to the next area. And then death warp and go back and talk to the statue and go to the next area and get a statue and death warp and go back to the next area.
I feel like my biggest problem for here is I always forget, specifically on Rockbird, how many things I need to kill and end up killing like an extra 3 layers. And be like, why did I do this?
Oh, yeah. So now we've been to the lower right-hand corner. Now we're going to go all the way over to the lower left-hand corner. And we're going to go to the volcanic island of Durian. There is a safety here. There are mermaids tiers in the right-hand side of this palace that I'm walking through right now. And if you go to the top of the volcanic island, you can put the mermaids tiers down, and it will stop completely the not only the volcanic eruptions, but all of the hot lava stones. And unfortunately, the ice armor does not work on them. So regardless of ice armor or no ice armor, you are going to have to deal with taking damage when you're walking across.
I see we're living very dangerously and not grabbing them.
No, I'm good.
I know, I do my best to not use them, but I know the moment I don't grab them, I'm gonna need them.
I've been pretty good about not having to grab them, and if I screw up, I screw up.
Yeah, no big deal at that point.
So
But you're just super good at video games.
Yeah, totally.
I promise I'm not like trying to subtly sick burn you by saying things. Like, you're legitimately good at this game. I hope that, I know you know.
I got my sub 2, I'm a happy camper. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I have a 202, and I feel good about that.
You should. I mean, like I said, it's easy to learn and difficult to master. So,
yeah.
You know, so you can't always be like, "Ah, rag, I can't do this." But it's rough. It is very rough.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. Like, usually I top out at speedruns about an hour at most. Something about this game, didn't feel like a long game. It just kind of felt like a fun thing to play through, even though it took me 2 hours.
So this is Lou. Lou is one of the Dr. Leo pets, although he is not the village chief of the area. So Turbo is also one of the Dr. Leo pets, technically, although he was also Lisa's pet. So every world also has a pet. So you had Turbo in World 2, you have Lou the Dolphin in World 3, you're gonna have a snail in World 4, and some other stuff. Some interesting other stuff.
I'm actually didn't quite catch on to that part. And now I'm trying to think World 4 or 5
Birds?
has
Bird? Hey, bird, hello?
This bird does not want to come over here.
What the heck,
it's
bird?
tired.
Wow, that was a... Wow, bird.
Birds have really weird patterns and they do not like to listen.
This rock is gonna follow me if I don't get rid of it. I'm gonna play it safe.
Using our light arrow there to take out a layer before we can actually get there. And, rocks.
Yes. So there is a set of metal monkeys up here, which, because they're metal, we can't kill them yet. But we'll be back for them.
Yes, they're very important gorillas.
Yes, and it's also one of the reasons that I really don't want to use the mermaids tiers. Because I want to be able to death warp after I get those metal monkeys later on. Also, this dolphin is in for a massive headache.
For real, it is so dedicated though.
It is.
But they're gonna rescue Lou at all odds.
Yes. And I'm gonna keep running from birds, because birds are jerks. So this is the last lair that has to be sealed. And unfortunately, you can see it is across the lava pit.
Oh, okay, so even if you run out of gems, they'll still come for you over here.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Thankfully, yes.
I always try to kill them from above, and then run out of gems. And that's where I run into issues.
So I have my last lair. I can death warp. That was extremely close. I think I only had 2 life bars when I walked on that lair. But before we go to the next area, not only do we have to talk to the statue, but we also have to talk to Lou. Because essentially what's going to happen is there's going to be another set of metal monkeys on this island of Blester coming up. And Blester is, well, it mimics my weather outside, which is a thunderstorm. And Lou is going to give us this thunder ring, even though it calls lightning forth. And we're going to have to use that lightning in order to kill those metal monkeys and progress and get the next statue.
In terms of when you play through casually, it's not the clearest bit of instruction here.
Yeah, unfortunately not. But if you do equip the Thunder Ring that he gives you, and you'll see, like, gold plates that you can walk up to. If you walk up to them and there aren't too many other sprites on the screen at the time, you'll see the lightning come down.
Yeah, just when you walk up to it and just nothing happens, you're like, line?
Yeah. So we did lower right, we did lower left, now we're gonna go to the upper right.
I dare chat to predict where we go next.
That's a tough one.
It's just one of Soul Blazer's little mysteries that we may solve soon.
Alright, I do want to take... I think I'm gonna gain a level anyway, if I remember correctly, but,
Yeah, I feel like you do around here.
Yeah. Right before the Death Warp, I think, which is always fun.
Just gotta get those birds in place.
Yeah, it's... Like, some people will Death Warp off the Bubblefish, but I like Death Warping off the birds here better. It's a little bit faster to me, especially because I gain my next level right before.
Alright, this is Blester, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this island's not. This is a weird island. See, there's our lightning that we called down. What's up?
Now we just have to see if it's actually going to work when I get over there.
Yeah, we're trying to spawn all the gorillas at once so we can just take it out in one little fell swoop. Which means sometimes you just hit a sprite limit and the game doesn't want anything to happen.
I had to touch it a couple of times in order to get the lightning to come down. And of course I gained my level right there.
Just in time for our death warp.
But it's alright, because I'm going to take my armor off and I'm going to go get birded to death.
Zuzu would be proud.
Oh god. Alright, come on birds. Come on. You know you've been waiting for this opportunity. There we go. So we have one more statue to go. That's going to take us to the upper left-hand corner. Who would have thought? To the ghost ship. And casually, the ghost skeleton is, at least for me, it was one of the most difficult monsters to get rid of. In the speedrun, it is stupidly easy. Along the way, as we go through the coral reef, we're also going to be picking up the power bracelet, which is going to double our attack power, and it's super necessary to get through some of the next areas, because we are very quickly going to get into poke-only strats, and we're going to need that extra attack boost. So, coral reef, power bracelet is right over here on the side. By the way, if you ever have trouble opening a treasure chest, I learned this nice little technique. If you crab walk facing it and walking towards it, it will automatically open.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that works, but you just don't need to hit any extra buttons, just crab walk up to it. And
yeah,
it's
really
awesome.
nice, because sometimes the hitboxes on treasure chests are very wonky.
Yeah, and if you're going for the invisible chests in, oh gosh, what's the Castle Magrid?
Yeah.
That's a good way to get them.
Yep. Alright, so with the power bracelet in hand, or I guess on wrist, we are gonna head down here and go through the ghost ship. So the ghost head here has 3 different parts, but only the skull itself takes damage. And the amount of hits that the hands take varies depending on the spawn. So sometimes it can only take a few hits. Sometimes, well, it can take a lot of hits, but it goes down pretty easy.
Yeah, this skull though, like if you're out of position, it will just maul you in seconds. It's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage. But with the skull down, World 3 is done. We're gonna go back to the Mermaid Queen, and we're gonna retrieve our 3rd stone, which is gonna be the blue stone. Except that I have to walk back across the ghost ship. Much more peaceful now.
It's a little bit safer. I don't have the music on, but I believe the music is like the kind of serene tone that comes up.
Yep. Also, that chest on the side on the ghost ship is a validation chest. It has 1 gem.
It is a very important gem.
So with World 3 done, we are going to move on to the Mountain of Souls. We're going to be picking up, finally, a new armor in the Mountain of Souls. It is a very nice armor, because basically what it does is it cuts your magic cost in half. Aside from giving more defense, of course, but having that magic cost cut in half is extremely valuable in this world.
And we don't have the Lucky Blade, right?
No, but we're gonna pick it up after we get the mushroom shoes.
We're not there yet. Got it. Okay. It just shows how long it's been since I've actually played through this video game. But basically the Lucky Blade will, it gives us a higher chance of getting better gems or bigger gems, which will let us cast magic a lot more often.
Yes. Also, these bats suck, but luckily they follow a pattern. Our main goal here is to go up the mountain, of course, but also to pick up that armor that I mentioned before, and to release the boy that has the mushroom shoes. Snowball, get out of here!
Oh, really? Oh my gosh! Oh gosh. So the snowball can be really pushy, and sometimes it just really wants to chase you. That was a pretty bad example of the snowball. Like that's vicious.
Yeah, that was a very rude snowball. I'm so glad most of these bats can be manipulated. They are horrible in the randomizer. So mean.
Oh, that is a good spot. I always kind of... I don't know why I insist on doing things the hard way in this video game when I speedrun it. I sit on the ramp and dance up and down and just get frustrated at bats.
I know. Flying creatures being horrible in a video game? That never happens.
Unheard of.
So yeah, so this essentially is why we need the mushroom shoes, because without them, we're just kind of sliding around. I mean, it's fun, but it's not very helpful.
It's a failed opportunity to make, like, a really awful Sokoban-style puzzle in Soul Blazer.
Wow, these gem drops are really generous without a Lucky Blade. Holy shnikes. Okay, so we release the boy. And then the layer on the bottom that I also sealed that had the mice in it is going to give me a crystal fairy so that I can come back here.
I'll give you these mushroom shoes. It's about time.
Also, these sleeping reindeer moose things suck. If you don't have magic to kill them from a distance, they basically just kind of jump at you and then their heads detach and... Oh, it's horrible.
Randomizer is... There's a lot of things that we fought in Randomizer that we just don't fight anywhere else, and it's just a nice perspective of the video game.
Yeah.
Have you done a 100% run of this game?
Not a run, but I have 100%ed it, like, casually.
That is probably very helpful. Like, learning the randomizer was a lesson in, no, there's an invisible thing on the ground here that you need to pick up. And there's so much of that.
Yeah, there are, essentially, the biggest contributor to that is there are, Master's emblems A through H, and, you can find them in a lot of hidden places because they're meant to give you a really quote-unquote special item. It's not all that special, but whatever.
It is quite useless for the point that you get it at in the game.
Well, you don't really get it though until just before the World of Evil.
Yeah, it's kind of why I feel like it's useless. Like, you don't use it very well or much, and at that point you're getting so many gems in the World of Evil anyway.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah, so the Magic Bell essentially, if you have it equipped, allows you to cast magic for free. It's great if you're really hard up for gems and you're going through the World of Evil and for some reason you don't have, like, you didn't find any of the bracelets.
Just doing that magic only run.
But, yeah, by that point, it's just kind of worthless.
Yeah, it is an amazing randomizer item, though. It turns the master from a sword swinger to just like this wild spell slinger, presuming you've got any sort of weapons.
I think I skipped a layer somewhere.
I
On the
guess we'll find out.
mountainside.
It's entirely possible. I can't tell you that I noticed, because this is the one area that I know I spent the least amount of time practicing it, so I end up getting a lot of extra layers for some reason. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I got it all down. I don't recall.
Okay, Bat, you need to stop. It's really hard to aim on the slopes. There we
Yeah,
go.
the bats are also like a really unique enemy of just unless they're turning, they don't ever get close enough for you to hit them with the sword. You just have to kind of charge them as they're in an arc of a turn.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll never hit them.
Yeah, I think it is creeping death. Sometimes I just think I missed something climbing up the mountain. I get that feeling a lot, even though it isn't always, like, a problem. But it happens. It's just like, oh, I feel like I've forgotten something. Oh, come on, Dad, stop. I need those gems.
No, these gems are part of the wall now. Oh no, that's a big gem drop.
It's alright, we're out of here, we're gonna go down into Lanol. So, this is the main reason that you want a projectile magic like Light Arrow. It's these Wizrobes here. Essentially, as soon as you get too close to the Wizrobes, you activate them, they'll spin, and then they'll teleport, and they'll go everywhere.
Yeah, and they'll never like sync up and show up at the same time, so you can try to hit a few. They're just everywhere, and their hitbox is so limited. Well, they're what is the word I'm looking for? Window of where you can actually hit them. Wow, I'm all over with words today.
That's okay. I'm actually semi-amused trying to figure out what you're talking about.
The time that they're vulnerable. Hey, I did it in the first try that time.
Ooh, I knew you could do it.
Because when they're spinning, they're not vulnerable anymore. And if you get close to them, they'll start spinning and teleporting, and it's not fun. Sorry, I've been up for, I guess I got up at 6, so I'm on 4 hours of sleep and a lot of restreaming, and I am 100% qualified to commentate a Soul Blazer run.
Woohoo! 4 hours of sleep. 4 hours of sleep and a class taught already this morning, so I feel you.
You did so much more work than me already.
No, restreaming is rough. At least to me it is.
It's like my favorite job. It just feels good. I also did a speedrun, I guess.
Okay, can take off the mushroom shoes for good. We're not going to need them again. And we're going to do a nice little drag of all the enemies into this area so that we can hit more of them at the same time with less magic use. Because we do still have one more area to go through with Wizrobes, and we still kind of need our light arrow. Hey, give me that. And we're gonna do that one more time. I'm gonna come down here and bring the bats with me, whether they like it or not. And we're gonna kill the bats and the Wizrobes down here at the same time.
How efficient. Oh wow, you got them all in one shot there.
I know, when I don't aim, it's like, hey! And then when I try to aim, it's like, oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, every time I try to purposely hit the bats, I'm going to miss like 6 of them, despite there only being 5 circling you.
Basically. But the good thing about that is, at least I know that the lair closed up. So this game has an interesting quirk. If you seal a lair, like if you've killed certain monsters, like maybe the monster releases 5 and you've only killed 4, but then you go and seal another lair where you're actually releasing something and not just opening a pathway. If you don't actually hear the lair close, you're gonna have to re-defeat every monster from the other lair.
If you're trying to grind to max level, it's still not a great strategy.
No. And then for our last fiasco, we're gonna go into Lake Loon to fight more Wizrobes and Smarties and other assorted things. These just look like Smarties to me.
Now I want Smarties. I need to go to the corner store. I guess not right now.
I mean, I would appreciate it if you wouldn't right now.
Sorry, gotta go. Need Smarties. You understand. One of these days, I'll invent a way to buy candy on the internet.
Ooh, big gem, thank you. I'm not gonna need gems so much in the next area, but here, they're very necessary.
Yeah. When we get into Leo's lab, like everything just kind of doesn't care if you hit it with magic.
Yeah, the metal monsters are impervious to the magic, unfortunately.
Just get in Discord on my phone. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that won't sound bad at all.
I'll take Arborelia's phone so I can watch the stream and commentate with my other phone.
You know, for a lucky blade, I'm not getting very lucky with gem drops.
Didn't we just go through a huge string of, like, giant gem drops earlier? Whatever.
Alright, killed that one mage so it wouldn't follow me.
Ooh, smart moves.
Because then I can sneak by before the next one pops out.
I think I end up killing that lair out of spite.
You know what? That doesn't surprise me. That lair sucks.
They're
Also,
red Wizrobes. They're very threatening.
Yes, on the list of lairs I wish would spawn all at once, that would be one of them. Luckily, this one will spawn all at once. Ooh, gems. Alright, so I'm gonna do things slightly out of order, because I'm a little out of order. And I'm gonna go to the boss first.
How will you ever defeat the boss with your skill set?
I don't know. I mean, all I can do is poke.
I'm gonna hold this sword out, and if you run into it, it's your own fault.
By the way, this sprite is different from the Japanese version. In the Japanese version, this is a very hot mermaid lady. Poseidon lady? I don't know, but she's got boobs.
She does. They exist. I've seen them.
Oh, that was so difficult. How could I ever do it?
I don't know how that's gonna come through on my video. Let's not clap in front of them. Spicy mermaid.
So, to be honest, this is not an awful way to handle this because you want to release the 2 grandma layers that we have left over at the end anyway. If you release the grandmas before you release the king, you get extra lines of dialogue, and it actually takes a little bit longer. So this is technically a better way, a faster way.
I'm learning things. I could probably save 2 minutes using these hot new trick strats.
I bet you could. I bet you could save more than 2 minutes.
Nah, just 2. That's all I want.
It also means that I don't have to worry about opening a teleport layer to, like, recharge my HP, because if I die, well, I'm gonna want a death warp anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, the dancing grandmas come by later, but this is why we release the grandmas, so they can dance, because they must dance.
They can dance if they want to. They can leave their friends behind.
And last I checked, they very much so want to.
Alright, that was a very bad shot, so I'm gonna switch to this sword. These Smarties are very uncooperative today.
It's like release the Kraken with more baked goods.
So this is the last thing I need my light arrow magic for, is to get rid of these heckin' bats.
And then maybe we'll be done with bats for the rest of the game.
I think we are.
At least there's like flies later.
Yes, this is true. So we release our 2 grandmas. Again, we get no dialogue by releasing them after the king, because they're just gonna pop right in there. And I'm gonna take my armor off and death warp. If I can select the right thing, there we go. Luckily, those crystal things do a good amount of damage at once. So, in this instance, usually we go and talk to the village chief, quote-unquote. But this time, we don't want to go talk to the king. We actually want to go talk to Gnome. Gnome the snail is another one of those pets that I mentioned. And Gnome is going to be the one who gives us the stone to go into the next area. The only reason, well, we're going to use the king and the grandmas in a little bit, but the main reason we release the king is because you can't actually go talk to Gnome until the king is released, because technically Gnome is locked in jail. But by releasing the king, he's like, I've pardoned Gnome, I was a terrible person, please forgive me, and go talk to Gnome. But it's not really necessary to go all the way over and talk to the king right now. So Gnome gives us the silver stone, and we're going to move on to the most difficult part of the speedrun.
I try to imagine how much of a jerk you have to be to put a snail in jail.
Yeah. It is a feat.
This is my favorite area, even like the town area, which is this house, and the lab areas are so much fun. Like, I love everything about this zone and this level. It's so good. Also, get your sour pleases